We're now joined by CWU's Aubrey Tshabalala. Aubrey, a very good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us this afternoon on SA Today. So, of course, you made the demand and you said that by 5 p.m., if those letters of redundancy are not retracted, then you will continue then with industrial action. From what I got from the conversation with the group executive for HR, Dr. Musia, those letters were actually not retracted. So take us through then the plans for tomorrow, Aubrey.
Thank you very much, and indeed good afternoon to you and the listeners. The plans for tomorrow, they will go as follows. From 12 o'clock across the country, we expect all workers of SABC to down tools. They will be protected legally. So in other words, there won't be any intimidations or, files of disciplinary hearing or something of that nature. So they must just down tools in defense of their own jobs. And when it starts, will be in all SABC outlets across the country. So that's the first part. The second part will also be handing a memorandum. We have written a letter to SABC to deploy its representatives in all those outlets so that we can be able to give them a memorandum. And indeed will be supported by various organizations. COSATU as our federation will be side by side with us. We have the South African Communist Party, the African National Congress through the Office of the Secretary General has pledged to be part of it. We also have various other organizations such as SAFTU, such as EFF that have vouched to join us. So having said all of that, is the point that we are trying to make emphasis on is that as you have listened to Dr. Musia, he's saying that they have a mandate from the board, but we all know that the board has split now. There are members of the board who are saying, I'll quote Mamudupi, who are saying that they were not preview of these alternatives that the trade union have given. They were not preview on some of the issues that were tabled before the SABC management. In other words, it's a project of some few individuals in the executive and some members of the board, and of course use their power because they are majority in that structure. So hence we have been clear that this board is not correctly governed, and we want to see it leaving SABC so that we can be under administration.
When you said that, one of your demands there is that management step down. I'd like to understand, SABC has many managers. When you're talking about management, are you specifically then speaking about the board that you've just kind of hinted at now?
Yes, is the board, but we are also quite clear about the group CEO. We are quite clear about the CEO, the COO, and the CFO. Why we specifically mentioning these three individuals in the executive is because of their dishonestly engaging with us, is because of their dishonestly in what they've tabled in Parliament, and of course, the board has been protecting them. Bongimosa Makhathini has been a board member who / an executive because on the daily basis, he found himself at SABC so that he can claim more these board fees. He can be able to supplement his salary with SABC money. These are the people that are not intending to save SABC from its financial woes, but they are deepening the crisis. The people that will ultimately benefit, it will be the private sector and those so-called independent producers who are standing on the sideways to be able to be the one who will provide content to SABC, whilst workers, in thousands of them, of SABC, will be loitering in the street. We know now they're talking 400, but it is clear what they've done in the previous year when they terminated the freelancers' contract without renewing them. Some of the freelancers worked around about 8, 10 years.
Yeah.
They were just terminated just like that. So we know.
Are they involved? Are they
this.
involved in the strike action now that you've raised the issue of freelancers? And I mean, it really is quite an issue, isn't it? The fact that there are so many freelancers at the SABC, many of which have been working for many, many years. But you also at the same time hear full-time employees saying that they have an issue with freelancers and the fact that there are so many. But really, at the end of the day, isn't it an issue that of the two really fighting the same cause, if I can actually put it that way?
It's a cause that every worker should be part and parcel of. The certificate that we have in terms of the strike covers every worker. So in other words, it could be a contractual worker, it could be a freelancer, and a permanent worker. So it's very clear, even the notice that was issued to the company. So no worker should fear of being victimized or being sent to a disciplinary action for participating in the strike, even if you are a non-union member, even if you are belonging to PEMAU, our sister union, whom we support them in the action in court. So this strike covers everyone at SABC. So it's very important that freelancers join the strike, because if they don't, they will be easy victims going forward, because we know that what SABC have done, and we should obviously correct that situation when we come back. We don't want to see people who have
all right, we're struggling with that feed. Okay.
Limited right.
All right, we seem to have lost Aubrey there, unfortunately, and I had quite a few things I still wanted to discuss with him. Let's see if the team might be able to reach him. I do know he has a lot to get ready for. All right, I understand he is back. Aubrey, let's continue then on our conversation. You said that nobody would be targeted, and you were talking about freelancers and that they wouldn't be targeted, but it's so easy to target a freelancer. You just don't book them. So how will you then be protecting a freelancer who decides to embark on the industrial action? And as you know, there are quite a few freelancers.
We know that SABC management is very malicious. The action that I'm talking about and the certificate to embark on the strike protects such. And if, for example, a freelancer goes on a strike, and tomorrow there's the renewal of a contract and so on and so forth, that will be an automatic unfair dismissal, which doesn't even go to CCMA. If they do that, it will go direct to labor court. And you know how weak SABC is legally. They've been spending thousands, if not millions, in losing cases. So we are certain about what we are saying now. All workers are protected, but we must fight very hard. It's not going to be an easy battle. We know that we have a very stubborn management. They didn't even dare try to say, can we engage union to see how best do we resolve even before you go on a strike tomorrow? They just say, let it be. Yeah. So having such people at the helm of SABC is dangerous to the country. We have mentioned earlier on in our press statement that targeting indigenous languages in their new structure, it's a reversal of the gains that were obtained in 1994, amongst others. Also, taking away the news from your Metro FM, 5FM, and Good Hope, it's an indication that the public broadcaster is compromising its own original mandate. The COO of SABC, Mr. Plachi, said, when he was addressing workers under pressure, he said that unions failed them because they did not provide any alternatives. Guess what? On their affidavit in response to court, they confirmed that union gave them substantial alternatives that amounts to over 100 pages. Yeah. So this is a type of people that we are dealing with. And I think that workers, it's time for them to really rally behind their own cause and defend their jobs, but defend the public broadcaster most importantly.
Aubrey, I think you were listening to the conversation that I had just before speaking to you with Dr. Mojake Musia of the HR here at SABC. And I asked the question about if, retrenchments were really the only way to go about, cutting costs at SABC. And I wondered if there were other ways of cutting the fat. And I wonder if these are things that you as CWU have perhaps proposed to the SABC. Some of the examples that I gave, and I'd like you to tell me if you were satisfied with the answer that Dr. Musia gave me when I spoke to him. I spoke about the issue of, there had been some time ago talk of ghost employees. Was that fully investigated? Did they get rid of those people who don't even exist, who were getting, paychecks from the SABC every month? Has there been skills audits, for example? Some people were said to have received jobs at the SABC through friends and so forth. Have those people been checked? Has it been verified that people have the skills or the experience for the jobs that they are in? I also raised the issue of the huge payment gaps between employees. You'd find a junior employee earning pittance and another employee really making a lot of money from the SABC. So I wonder if these are issues that, as you kind of sit down and talk to the SABC, you've kind of ironed out, and I suppose you wouldn't be satisfied. You're not satisfied, otherwise you wouldn't be continuing then with the strike action tomorrow then, Aubrey.
Oh, absolutely. Remember, we've also raised the very same points you are raising in Parliament.
Yeah.
That it's important that we look into the skills audit. They brush it aside. And it is important that we look to the HR itself. Remember, SABC in their presentation on the corporate plan, they said this year and next year they want 3,050 workers in their corporate plan. They did not know that they have less than 3,000. So these are the people who are restructuring, but they don't know even the number of their own employees. So you can understand the depth of the crisis that we're experiencing. Sis Patiswa was calling the managers in the newsroom on Saturday, asking them, how many editors do you have in your department? How many are this, how many are that? Showing that even when they are restructuring, they don't know the old structure. So that is a crisis that we are facing. So we can say here in confidence, we have seen how the SOEs have been collapsed. Exactly the same path that the SAA has been, where they were selling all the aircraft and so forth. Here what they are doing, they are basically outsourcing a core production line where the content will be gone, and they will find out later that some of them will stand to benefit in those production companies. So that's a danger. Here they're going to milk SABC. So we have people who lacks integrity. If we're honest, we'll say that at least they should have implemented one or two recommendation of Joe Tloama as a recommendation in his commission. They've implemented none. Why? Because it does not make financial sense to individuals. So we have that. If you look at evergreen contracts of SABC that are still standing now, if you look at how much they spend on catering, all of those indicate the type of management we have at SABC. So we are making emphasis to workers. We are saying it's now or never. We ought to fight. We ought to soldier on. We ought to defend our jobs. We ought to defend jobs for the future generation. We have to make sure that the public broadcaster remains a public broadcaster that will serve the society in South Africa. Over 21 million people rely on SABC for entertainment, sports, news, and any other programs that comes with it in the arts and culture. So it's very important that we protect our literature, protect our language. So the struggle is bigger than all of us. We must all pull together.
All right, Aubrey Tshabalala, thank you for talking to us. That's CWU's Aubrey Tshabalala, emphasizing that indeed the strike action, which is taking place in the form of of downing tools and a blackout, will indeed then continue here at the SABC from 12 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.